Welcome to Troubleshooting Innovation, a commercial baking podcast sponsored by Reading Bakery Systems, your trusted partner for innovative bakery and snack solutions, helping you bake for a better tomorrow with the most advanced sustainable baking solutions on the market. This season, I'm speaking with Darlene Nicosia, CEO of Hearthside Food Solutions, and we are talking about operations, culture, and innovation behind the curtain of co-manufacturing. In this episode, we explore how product innovation is playing a new role in contract manufacturing. Hi, Darlene. Thanks for joining me again this week.
Great to see you, Joanie. How are you?
I'm great. And I'm super excited about this topic this week because I feel like it's something that has changed in the world of contract manufacturing over the past 5 or 10 years. Honestly, thanks to Hearthside.
Well, thank you for that endorsement. Look, I think there's a ton going on in our industry. And if you look at the changes that have taken place over the last 5 or 10 years, I think the most important thing is that our customers have changed. And so an important part of our strategy is to meet our customers where they are. The majority of our customers come to Hearthside for long-term strategic partnerships. And in fact, of our top 10 customers, we average 23 years of experience with them. So these are long-standing, long-term partnerships, but how we interact with them has really evolved. I think, the biggest thing that I would call on is the fact that now more than ever, our strategic partnerships are truly that, they're partnerships. If I look back 10 years ago, business was much more transactional. The role of a contract manufacturer was much more for overflow. It was when there was a surge in demand, there was a unique need. Maybe there was some new innovation where a branded company may not have the infrastructure to produce in-house, and they were waiting to make that investment to see if that innovation took off. But I think the role today really is much broader than that. There's the opportunity for certainly us and our competitors to be overflow. But there are other, situations where there's a promotion. And so there's an episodic demand. Maybe somebody's going into a new club store or something like that, and they need a surge in production capacity, and they'll call on contract manufacturing, or say they need flexible packaging capabilities for displays or something like that. They'll come to contract manufacturing. But more importantly, I think there's been this big change in partnership in this ongoing kind of long-term relationship where contract manufacturing really is an extension of our customer's supply chain.
Yeah, I have really seen that evolve. But you're right, overflow is always going to exist. I was just talking to someone at PMMI yesterday and talking about changes in packaging with overflow. It's just easy to kind of send that over to the co-man. But R&D is really coming into play. And I think Hearthside is leading that charge.
Well, that's right.
How have the increased R&D capabilities of Hearthside, and I guess I should sort of backtrack if we could just build some context. You guys had some strategic acquisitions that enabled a really strong R&D capability, right?
Yeah, I think, we've probably had a number of bolt-on acquisitions that have brought some of this R&D capability to us. I think we talked in an earlier podcast, we've had 10 acquisitions over the last 13 years. And so with each of those, we've been able to take kind of the best of what was offered in those businesses and build upon them. So we certainly do R&D work across a pretty broad breadth of our business. But I think what is really important is we offer this incredible optionality for customers because we have pilot lines, so we can do testing at small scale for trials in target markets for customers. But if those are successful and they immediately want to expand that success, we have the massive capability to then go in and produce at scale across all of North America without a blink. And so we have the ability to learn with them to, understand what's working well, both in getting the consumer feedback and making tweaks to recipes or looking at packaging options and how to make some tweaks as you go into bigger and broader distribution across the landscape. So I think that is something that sets Hearthside certainly apart from a lot of our competitors, but we don't necessarily have to run big lines. We can run small quantities on small lines, big quantities on big lines. And really, it allows our ops teams the opportunity to think through different stages of a product life cycle. That is really important because the last thing you want to do is grow out of your contract manufacturer and then have to go to a new one and start all over and re-commercialize those products. And then boom, you're out of capacity again. And so being able to start with a contract manufacturer that can help you throughout different levels of a product life cycle, I think are really important.
I was sitting here thinking, I guess the easy answer is, well, of course you have those capabilities. You have 39 facilities. So like bandwidth isn't an issue, but it's more than that, like operationally. And I'm asking you as the puzzle solver, how do you do that strategically? Because there has to be a lot to that puzzle. So, and I'm thinking, the quintessential operations and R&D don't always play nice together. So do you have to be referee?
I mean, there are natural tensions in our business, small to medium sized production runs where customers may have 4 to 6 flavors of an SKU of a particular brand. It requires a lot of changeovers. There's lost production time in that. There's certainly more scheduling. There's more complexity in it. But we try to focus our speed and efficiency on all these aspects to kind of be the best in the industry at doing that work. But I think, you talk about these different capabilities, and many of our lines are completely sold out. So scheduling often is a challenge. And so you want to satisfy all your customers all the time. And I can only think of one occasion in my career where I had to essentially make a call on running a startup launch for a customer and had to really collaborate with another customer to make the time, make it work for everyone. But there are times when you have to do those things, right? It's not common. And again, we have a tremendous amount of focus on trying to satisfy all our customers at once. But there are times when something may not go right as you're starting up or commercializing a new product, and you got to be able to be flexible in those moments.
This is insight that really anybody can use if you apply it in the right way, because, for our publication, I'm thinking, okay, so when you have a bandwidth issue, you don't just add more lines or acquire a new facility. You have to really get strategic. It's the classic work smarter, not harder for you on a much, much grander scale. But I'm hearing what you're saying and thinking, okay, I can see where we could apply that and make different shifts to kind of have some give and take with customers in order to get to the same end result in a more efficient way.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, bringing a new product to life is truly both art and science. And it takes a tremendous amount of collaboration because different machines, different processes, different atmospheric conditions can all have an impact on a product. And so you have to have a lot of collaboration in the process. And lucky for us, we have incredible R&D, commercialization, engineering teams, and they're constantly finding ways to use a combination of ingredients, of processes, of equipment to bring new flavors, new tastes, new textures, whatever it is, to products. And so the best relationships are the relationships where I think our customers are open to, exchanging ideas, to hearing our thoughts. They bring us in early, even if we don't develop the product and they develop it. We get the opportunity to co-create once you're getting out, because executing is different than ideation, right?
Absolutely. So, and that was going to be my next question was, what's trending for you guys right now? Are you more innovating with your customers or innovating for them? In other words, do you typically troubleshoot on a customer spec, or do you find yourselves bringing product development ideas to the table and helping them come up with new ideas?
I hate to say this, it's both. It really is. Our biggest of customers have huge, huge R&D organizations, right? It's amazing in my mind because earlier this year, we went to one of our largest of customers and we brought them 10 concepts. And we said, look, this is just for ideation, for, creative thinking, maybe for you to think about some flavors. And we all like to eat around the table. So, we brought in some samples and it was incredible. They were like, wow, we love the ideas that you brought to us. And like our R&D team is backed up for 18 months and it would take us so long to get this product to market. They came back to us like 2 weeks later and said, we want to run with 3 of your recipes, your ideas. We were out in the marketplace in 6 months.
Wow.
And so even when somebody has really established, world-class R&D organization, sometimes they're competing priorities. Many of our customers are in multiple categories. They're trialing things with new ingredients. They're trialing things that may have new sweeteners coming into the market, whatever the case might be. R&D is so broad for them that to actually get to commercialization takes a long time. And so what we can do is sometimes accelerate that process, especially if it's something small like flavor changes. In these examples, we just took some on-trend flavors and ingredients and added them to an existing product line, and it's been a huge success for us.
So, okay, this gives me 2 thoughts. One, this puts an entirely different view on what overflow means. So 10, 15, 20 years ago, you went to a co-manufacturer for the operational overflow. But now brands can come to a co-manufacturer for their R&D overflow and product ideation overflow. Like, we don't have time to come up with something new because we're cranking out, snacks for Super Bowl season. Can you guys come up with something so that we can focus on this? And that's a little mind-blowing.
It is. In fact, when I talk about the duration of our customer relationships, I think our biggest of customers have tried to harness the best of what we can offer and what they offer, and found a way to really kind of create this true engagement where we're like an extension of their business, right? I often talk about wanting our manufacturing plants to be an extension of our customer supply chains, to make it feel like it's such a clear handshake in the process, that knowledge and product and ingredients flow so seamlessly between us that you would never know that it was made in a contract manufacturing environment. But there are some customers still who predominantly interact with us transactionally. Maybe the relationship is just for a single product and they're not ready to engage the full portfolio of what we can offer.
So the second thing that came to my mind is when you said that, you had a customer meeting that was typically transactional, and you're like, hey, we just thought we'd bring some products for you to snack on while we meet and see what you think. Like, how do you prioritize that? Making time and space to just get creative and come up with new things that maybe you can throw out there as food for thought, so to speak. How do you work that into such an intricate operation?
Look, I think it starts with being customer centric at the start, right? And thinking about every one of our customers is focused on growth. They want to have growth in the categories they operate in today. They're trying to find new adjacencies, whatever the case might be. Everybody's focused maniacally on how do they get continued growth in the marketplace. And so I think part of our role is to continue to stimulate ideas, to be a thought partner, and then to have the capability behind us to actually go and make it happen and execute. A lot of people can come up with ideas. There are very few that can be strategic, bring ideas, and then be able to execute them. And I think that's what Hearthside offers.
This episode is brought to you by Reading Bakery Systems, your trusted partner for innovative bakery and snack solutions. For more than 130 years, RBS has driven the continuous improvement of bakery systems to help make their customers successful. Passion for innovation, coupled with intelligent designs and a research-based approach, make RBS the only partner you'll need to ensure your product's success. Reading Bakery Systems. Successful snacks start here. Learn more at readingbakery.com. You came from a world that was intrinsically connected to consumer trends and consumer demands. Now that you've been in the co-manufacturing world for a year, I'm going to make an assumption. You tell me after living in it for a year if it's a safe assumption or accurate. Even without a brand, are co-manufacturers not immune to these really rapidly evolving consumer demands?
You have to know what's happening with the consumer to run a successful strategic contract manufacturing company. First, we have to be able to talk with our customers about the trends, growth rates, for us to align on what infrastructure will be needed in the future. We need to know better than they do in some circumstances because some of our lead times on equipment and infrastructure could be 18 months or longer, right? But if you look at things like, you could take better for you snacking. You got to understand, how would that trend of better for you snacking impact ingredients and how those ingredients behave differently in processes? Do they introduce moisture? Do they impact shelf life? You have to look at the trends right now with consumer behavior and really understand a lot of that. I mean, right now, you can look at inflation. Everybody's looking at inflation. Prices have gone up. Many consumers are having to make different choices about their spending. How can we help? I think we have a huge role to play. We can provide insights about revenue growth management. We can talk about pack sizes and pack size changes, what it takes for us to do that, again, to get to market fast, right? Again, we enable speed to market. We have insights on how to maintain magic price points. We can offer club packs. We can do all kinds of things at a discounted price per unit in a club pack so that maybe we help bring solutions forward to the customers that we manufacture for and provide solutions that they're trying to solve for without necessarily having to have it impact their margins. So whether it's ingredient optimization, thinking of substitutions, there's all kinds of ways for us to also think about it on the cost side, product side, without impacting quality. So maybe from my long time at a branded company, I'm always thinking about how to grow the top line, but I think there's also a lot that we do to try and control costs, maybe take costs down, find product substitutions, and all those things also add up to take pressure off of our customers. And those are kind of critical elements of a strategic relationship.
It's funny because I'm sitting here thinking about your experience with a really big brand. And I'll tell you that I grew up in the era of New Coke, the New Coke experiment. And I remember Coca-Cola consumers are fiercely loyal. Do you feel like having that insight, like coming from a brand with such fierce loyalty, that you sort of have this frame of reference of, listen, I know what loyal customers are and are not willing to put up with in terms of how far outside of the scope of change we want to go?
Well, it certainly helps, right? It's an experience like no other. I think probably some of the spaces that it helps me in is really understanding when people are looking to drive innovation within an existing portfolio. Billion-dollar brands are supported by innovation. And I think maybe one of the examples I draw upon is my time at Coca-Cola with Coca-Cola Creations. Coca-Cola Creations created a ton of buzz, a lot of excitement. But what it also did is it buoyed and it reignited passion around brand Coca-Cola. And I think just being able to talk about that, whether it's, my customers doing their own LTOs or holiday packs, there's a huge need for innovation on the fringe to bring consumers back to that core that they know and they love within that portfolio. So we do a ton of brand extension. And it's a really important element of an overall strategic plan for any one of our customers.
Okay, that's interesting. So, okay, on that note, the next question is just about food and beverage manufacturing. When you look back on your history and professional experience and you think about the change that manufacturing has been through the course of your career, how far ahead is the industry from where you imagined it would be by now?
I love the optimism in your question. How far ahead? Because I would probably tell you, I actually think we're probably more at the other end of the spectrum today, but I see endless opportunity. So perhaps I'm always looking out that way in an optimistic point of view, but I'd probably say the starting point is on the low end of the spectrum because, I think there are places where for the just tremendous amount of flexibility contract manufacturing offers to its customers, you have to be agile. You have to offer some level of uniqueness that each one of our customer wants, yet do it with somewhat common infrastructure. And so because of that, I feel like we have less automation. There's probably a lot more hand touching of packaging and processing and things like that than you may find in a more advanced manufacturing environment with a ton of automation. Now, I have to say, where we have long-term strategic partnerships, say a 7-year contract or something like that, we know we have high demand for a product. we'll put in tremendous automation, we'll put in digital sensors, we'll have all kinds of monitoring, quality technology, things like that. Then I'd say that particular circumstance and situation, we are more on the far end of manufacturing in terms of manufacturing innovation. So it is a bit of a mixed bag, but I think there's a bigger opportunity for our industry. And it's about this ability to have longer term partnerships with our customers so that we can make the necessary investments to be world-class extensions of their supply chains. It's not just in the manufacturing process. It's in how we forecast and plan, how we share inventory levels. Just the ability to give transparency across the supply chain would be a huge step in the right direction. I see very, very limited circumstances of this being used. And so you think about the ability to have a consumer buy a product that's scanned across a register and it sends back fulfillment signals, not just to the customer, but all the way through the supply chain to a contract manufacturer. That'd be pretty incredible. And if you could think about it going back into the ingredient suppliers, even more incredible. We could probably take a lot of cost out because of that reliability we could offer. So in my opinion, co-mans are still treated somewhat as dispensable relationship partners. I think, some of that is in the short contract durations. And if I could have a crystal ball and get a wish, maybe with a wand, I would really encourage our customer side to do less spot buying and really think about engaging in longer term relationships, because I think it could be much healthier for both of us in the ability to use technology, information, and other things that would help us.
Yeah. I mean, and when you talk about the idea of tracking that purchasing data, like sending that information all the way back through the supply chain, I think it would really help with forecasting in your equipment needs as well. If you could kind of gauge, here's where the purchasing growth is in this area, and these are areas where we could automate more. We need to really put the focus on how we're investing in automated equipment in this area versus the growth is happening in areas where we need more flexibility because there are a lot of line extensions and different varieties that are becoming more popular. I think it would just really streamline a lot throughout the supply chain. So I'm going to circle back. We kind of got far ahead. I'm going to take it back in to talk about product innovation. We've touched on a lot of things. How do you think this evolution has impacted your own personal philosophies for co-manufacturing?
I would say I learned a lot at my time, whether it was at Frito-Lay or at Coca-Cola. I learned a lot about product innovation. And so whether it was about recipe formulation or the opportunities to bring new ingredient blends forward, to improve a taste profile, reduce calories, or at the same time, take out cost or create redundancy of supply. I mean, when you think about the innovation at shelf, how to win displays, how to take on more space in a retail location. We talked about the whole idea of this halo effect of innovating around a core brand and the excitement that it brings in. Behind every innovation, you have to have end-to-end visibility, you have to have collaboration, and you have to have execution capabilities by all partners. And so when I think about customer relationships at Hearthside, it's that I would love to have these customer relationships where they would bring us in, give us visibility into whatever they're innovating, welcome our collaboration, let us advance the possible success through the ability to partner with them, because at the end of the day, they're going to turn to us and ask us to execute. And oftentimes when we get brought in, everything is already decided. The recipe is solidified. They know what they want to do. The packaging is decided. And so far too often, I think we're brought into the process late. And then we tactically end up executing on very accelerated timelines. So we give our best, but leave, I think, an opportunity on the table where we probably could collectively do better. And so it certainly has changed how I think about manufacturing. And I'm constantly trying to escalate conversations with our customer base to bring our teams in earlier.
So do you think that we're heading into a new world where marketing and R&D and operations and co-manufacturers can peacefully coexist?
I'm a former chief procurement officer, so I think in so many ways, we have a right to say we would love to be engaged with all the winners in the innovation process. But I would also say it's tough because oftentimes my teams are engaged with procurement when we really need to be engaged with R&D. We need to be engaged with others that are involved in the supply chain, sometimes even engaging with brand managers. And so it's this constant push to have us be a more integral partner than to be a transactional partner. I think that happens over time. It happens as trust is built. I love my procurement partners out there, but sometimes they're a barrier because they don't necessarily want to give us access that we need to really give our best and be the best collaborative partner that we can be. But again, I think our story is, only in the middle chapters. And I think there's so much more for us to do in terms of building kind of the profile and elevating the role that contract manufacturing can play with our customers. So maybe I'll leave it at that.
Okay. There's a runway.
I love it. There is an absolute runway.
All right, Darlene, those are all my questions for this episode. What a really great conversation this was. I enjoyed talking about kind of a new world of R&D and contract manufacturing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Joanie. Great talking to you again. I'll see you next week.
Yep. Next week, we're going to look through your eyes at where we are in general in the evolution of contract manufacturing. So I can't wait.
Awesome. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Troubleshooting Innovation. And a special thank you to our sponsor, Reading Bakery Systems. For more information on RBS and their industry-leading sustainable baking solutions, visit readingbakery.com.